Hey folks, I often don't do listener discretion advisories before the podcast, but considering the events of this past weekend with this week's Saturday edition of the podcast, I am going to issue one for this podcast. As most of you know, if you're listening to this episode, we're going to talk about the El Paso shooting. The reason I chose to discuss this topic is, A, it was breaking news when I recorded the live stream. I couldn't avoid talking out just because it was so newsworthy and it's a relevant topic. But the listener discretion part that I want to advise you about is the fact that I do read the shooter's manifesto. Now, why did I do this for this episode? Because although I don't endorse anything that this shooter says, I believe it's important that we look at it because the media and the right and the left are equally guilty of doing this, but especially on the left. They're going to try and use this to divide the country and further their political agenda. And already there are certain commentators out there who are blaming Trump for this and saying that the shooter was pro-Trump, and this was not the case. I went over the manifesto, and in fact he thought that Trump was a coward. So I went through some highlights of the manifesto in the stream for this episode. It's hard to read and it's hard to examine. You're dealing with a crazy person, and you're dealing with someone who might not have had the manifesto written by himself. He might have had it written for him. This could have been a false flag. I'm usually not a conspiracy theorist, but it just seems to me like this shooting, and more importantly, that manifesto was purposely crafted to divide America. So, folks, once again, I want to, just advise you guys to be cautious while listening to this episode, and more importantly, just continue to say prayers and give positive vibes to the victims as we come together to support them. We can sort the political stuff out later, but I think the most important thing is that we all pray for the victims and for those who are recovering, for a speedy recovery. So folks, without further ado, this is one of the hardest episodes of the Whitfield Report that I've had to put out in a while. So, I don't want to say enjoy the show, but I guess here's the show, and I hope that whatever information you glean from this episode is helpful for you. It was helpful for me to talk about this on the podcast, and I'll have a podcast this week that will hopefully be more positive, but for right now, here's the episode about the El Paso shooting after word from our sponsors. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from NGC Studios in South Florida. Sorry for the delay in starting the live stream tonight. I started a previous live stream for tonight's show, and then right as I was going to go live, it decided it was going to crash. So I had to start a new stream over again, and that's what you're watching now. So apologies for the delay. I had to do a quick reset on everything, but we're here now, and hopefully the quality will be pretty good. At any rate, folks, the contact info for tonight, as usual, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @somebody_NGC, hashtag Sam Savages, hashtag Whitfield Report, and also, because of tonight's edition, hashtag El Paso as well. Gab and Minds at Sam Whitfield, facebook.com /Whitfield Report, thesamwhitfield.com, all of that stuff. So, I had a way different show scheduled for tonight, or planned initially. I was going to talk about some of the Democrat primary debate, but then obviously the news broke about El Paso, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I don't want to dive too deep into everything, although it's going to take up a fair amount of the show. But for those of you who haven't heard the news, I heard about this later in the day today, as opposed to earlier when it first happened. I guess. Well, I'll just pull up the headline from Fox News, and then I've also got a headline from CNN and InfoWars, just to compare kind of all the biases. So, from Fox News first, and I will be reading this for the audio podcast listeners. I don't care about system audio right now. El Paso shooting leaves 20 dead, 26 injured. Investigators probing potential nexus to hate crime. A gunman killed 20 people and injured 26 others Saturday after he opened fire at a Walmart in El Paso, Texas, state and city officials said. Texas grieves with the people of El Paso today, said Governor Greg Abbott at an evening news conference following the deadliest mass shooting in America since a gunman killed 26 people at a church in Southern Springs, Texas on November 5th of 2017. The scene was a horrific one, said El Paso Police Chief Greg Allen, who added that many of the wounded had life-threatening injuries. The suspected gunman had not been publicly named, but two law enforcement officials identified him to the Associated Press as 21-year-old Patrick Cruzes of Allen, Texas. It was unclear what connection the suspect had to El Paso. Texas State lawmaker Jeff Leach said in a tweeted statement that the suspect graduated from Plano Senior High School in 2017. More than a dozen law enforcement officials were seen Saturday evening surrounding a home in Allen, which is about 26 miles north of Dallas. The group included agents from the FBI, Texas Department of Public Safety, and the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF. A woman answered the door after a group of officers knocked. They appeared to speak with her briefly, and then she closed the door. A short time later, the door reopened, and officers entered. Neighbor Alice Ballard, who lives 4 houses down, told the Associated Press a retired couple lives at the home associated with the suspect. She described them as sweet people who attend church regularly. Chief Allen said investigators were examining a manifesto that may have been written by the suspect and would indicate a nexus to a hate crime, but declined to offer details. The suspect will most likely face capital murder charges, Allen said. And by the way, folks, I do have part of that manifesto. Allen said his department received initial reports of the shooting at 10:39 a.m. and first responders arrived 6 minutes later. Police asked people to stay away from the area and to look for missing family members at a school being used as a reunification area. El Paso Police Sergeant Enrique Carrillo told reporters shortly before 1 p.m. that one person was in custody and that there was no longer an imminent threat to the area. At an earlier news conference, El Paso Police Sergeant Robert Gomez said the suspect was taken into custody without incident, and no law enforcement officers fired their weapons. The Walmart was near capacity at the time of the shooting, with as many as 3,000 people inside, along with 100 employees, during the busy back-to-school shopping season. This is unprecedented in El Paso, said Gomez. Ryan Milke, a spokesman for the University Medical Center of El Paso, told Fox News that 13 patients, one of whom died at the hospital, were being treated at the facility's Level 1 Trauma Center. Milke told the Associated Press that 2 children, ages 2 and 9, were stabilized at the medical center before being transferred to the neighboring El Paso Children's Hospital. Del Sol Medical Center told Fox News it had received 11 patients, 9 of whom were critical but stable condition. The patients' ages ranged from 35 to 82. Residents were volunteering to give blood to the injured in response to a police tweet that donations were needed urgently, while police and military members were trying to help people who were looking for missing loved ones. It's chaos right now, said Austin Johnson, an Army medic at nearby Fort Bliss, who volunteered to help at the shopping center and later at the school that was serving as a reunification center. Terrible shootings in El Paso, Texas, President Trump tweeted. Reports are very bad, many killed, working with state and local law enforcement. God bless you all. Spoke to governor to pledge total support of the government. God be with you all, Trump added. White House Deputy Press Secretary Stephen Groves said earlier that Trump had been briefed on the shooting and, quote, and we continue to monitor the situation, Groves added. Groves added that Trump had spoken to Abbott as well as Attorney General William Barr. Hours later, Groves said that the president continues to receive to receive updates from his national security team on the tragic shootings in El Paso. Federal government personnel, including the FBI and ATF, are on the ground in El Paso, actively assisting local authorities, who are leading the response to the shootings. The president has pledged the full support of the federal government to Governor Abbott. Vanessa Senyez, a witness, told Fox News that she heard several pops near the area and saw a man in a black shirt and cargo pants with a weapon shooting outside the building before entering the Walmart. He was just pointing at people and just shooting, she added. Another witness told Fox News that his mother died at the scene. A witness told CBS News that he was about to enter the Walmart when he heard 10 gunshots and saw an elderly lady fall to the ground. Okay, so this was, this is just recounting the scene. I will link this article in the chat if you guys want to read the full article, and I will also link this in the podcast show notes, because it is a long article, and it keeps getting updated every 10 minutes or so. And I'm reading this on Saturday night, so the people listening to this on the other podcast will get this Sunday, or whenever during the week that they look at all this stuff. But I guess the one thing I want to focus on, or not really focus on, but show by contrast, is the fact, let me see if I can pull it up. So CNN's website, and again, I don't often go to CNN as like a preferred news source, but it's interesting if we go to CNN's website, what they're saying all this. So just from browsing the homepage of Fox News, we can see over here on the live updates pane on the left side, there's kind of a blurb here. So it starts off, witness, a kid ran into the store to warn us of shooter and no one paid attention. The suspect, sources identify white male. Notice they immediately say that he's a white male. So far, what we know about the shooting, and you can click on that link, basically what I just read you. Panic. Video shows man hiding under table as gunshots ring out. So CNN is already inciting the, they're already using phrases like panic and, showing video of people hiding under tables and whatnot. CNN is also now bringing up articles about worst mass shootings in modern U.S. history. This I kind of get like a bemused kick out of. Trump reacts. President calls shooting terrible. Notice that they're, somebody saying they called the shooting terrible as a way to, kind of diminish, like, oh, that's all Trump has to say about this. So, CNN is definitely phrasing this in the narrative already. They're already posting photos too, which I'm not going to click on. But here's what's interesting is CNN is already tying this into their, CNN investigation segment. The impact of business, the impact in business of guns in America. So already, they're already starting this gun control narrative, and we're not even 24 hours into this thing. Surprisingly, or rather, I guess, unsurprisingly, at this point, InfoWars is actually being the most non-biased and factual about this. So, yeah, Annabelle, updates mass shooting at Walmart in El Paso, America's safest city. 20 killed and 26 injured. And El Jefe says, good choice, CNN doesn't news very strongly. Well, that's my point, though, Jefe. That was exactly why I pulled up CNN, was to show that they're already, propagandizing this thing, and we're not even 24 hours in, and they're already propagandizing this thing. Also, the reactions on Twitter, I'm not sure if I'll pull up my Twitter timeline itself, but the Twitter timeline is very interesting in and of itself. Let me go back to the camera. I'll go back to the InfoWars article in a sec, because it pretty much just goes over what all the facts are. But basically, I just want to give you guys some forewarning here. I'm probably going to have to re-upload this stream to BitChute or to some other platform. That this will probably be what gets me to finally reactivate my BitChute account, because I actually have part of the manifesto, which I'm going to read and examine, because the media, and particularly the left, is already trying to phrase this as a right-wing thing, and from the manifesto, it's clearly, I'm not going to get into it now, but the scumbag who did this shooter is not, he might be right-wing, but he's not conservative at all. So, and with YouTube's policy about manifestos now, I know that when independent journalists were looking at the Christchurch manifesto, just doing streams, they were all pulled. So I'm afraid that they may do that with this one afterwards. So again, be sure to subscribe to the audio podcast for sure, and go to my website thesandwhitfield.com later on, because I'll probably have to link this video somewhere else. I'm not doing that to plug myself. I'm just saying that this video may be gone after tonight, if YouTube enacts their whole manifesto thing. But yeah, I will look at the manifesto. So, anyway. So going back to InfoWars, which is actually the most factual on all this. Let's see. Okay. Mass shooting at Walmart in El Paso, America's safest city. 20 killed, 26 injured, according to police. Okay. So, update 6. El Paso police have told media reporter Mike Ikakafo that the attack was gang-related terrorism. However, they are now saying they do not yet know the shooter's motive. Interesting. Update 5. An eyewitness has claimed that she saw 3 or 4 shooters in black. El Paso PD has said they apprehended one suspect and that the scene is no longer active. So, interesting. So this may be a cell then, from what we're looking at here. There's a tweet of the manifesto, which I have a better version of. Now, here's something that the media hasn't pointed out, and I actually will. I'll actually see if I can click on this. Let's see if this pulls up. Okay, so so it appears that Antifa, ladies and gentlemen, is already doing their whole thing too. And as a response, we ought to boost the call to 400,000 plus people, just to piss Dan Patrick off and purpose in telling his officers are Antifa so they'll get fired. He's setting himself up, and we should take full advantage of it. Okay. And then the tweet bro says Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick warns Antifa, who's planning to come to El Paso, to stay out of Texas after Walmart tragedy. So we have another narrative here, ladies and gentlemen, another important one, which is Antifags, as Gabe so correctly points out. Antifa is already planning on, committing terrorist acts, or at least attempting to. They're openly boasting about it on Twitter, as the people who are watching here on the stream can see. This is really sick and disgusting stuff, and yet the left is already trying to blame this on Trump, which obviously they're going to do that because that's just what they do every time something happens. Now, I'm trying not to make this about the left-right paradigm here, but it certainly is interesting that that the left is immediately jumping on, well, this is Trump's fault, and this is the MAGA movement's fault. So, did I see Sean King's Twitter? I'll have a no, I did not. I'm assuming it's a garbage heap, as usual though, so I try not to pay attention too much to what that dude has to say, honestly. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, what can I say about this? Obviously the shooting is tragic. It shouldn't have happened. Thoughts and prayers with the victims, all that stuff. And I'm not just saying like thoughts and prayers to say. I mean, I did say a prayer for the victims of the shooting. And, if you're a person who prays, I recommend that you, I would ask that you do the same. If you're not someone who prays, just send good vibes, I would say. So I do want to address a couple things because people are saying that this is staged. I mean, part of me does think that this is staged, perhaps. But regardless of whether the event itself was staged is more or less irrelevant. And here's why. Because the shooting has already happened, right? But what's more important is the way that the media is framing things now. The real staging is beginning now. Yeah. No, OJ's White Bronco in the chat's bringing up a good point. Could be, but it fits the same mold of all these cookie cutter mass shootings, weird guy, perfectly done manifesto, semi-auto rifle. I mean, you could be right. I'm not saying that you're not right. I'm not saying that you're wrong. My gut instinct does tell me that this very well could have been staged, right? That's kind of what my intuition is telling me. However, with that being said, I'm not saying officially that this was staged for sure. I'm not presenting that as fact. That's what my instinct tells me, but we don't know that. What I can tell you, though, is that the media is, in the left in particular, is definitely shaping the narrative and trying to paint this as a gun situation, like I just said a few moments ago. CNN is already running an article on their website about guns and big business in America. They just happen to pull this piece out, when this thing happens. So that narrative is definitely going on. Also, it's curious that this manifesto is so well done, and I mean, I have some perhaps theories on that myself, but it's for those who are long time viewers of mine, and I do mean long time viewers of mine, going back like 2 or 3 years, you may remember, some of you who listen to the audio podcast. Some of you may remember back when the Pulse nightclub shooting happened, and then when the shooting of those 4 police officers in Dallas happened, right? The when that shooting happened of those 4 police officers in Dallas, the shooter, was saying he was related to Black Lives Matter, and was using the excuse of taking the cops out because of, black oppression or whatnot. So he was getting back at the cops to get even, right? The media did not want to focus on that narrative. The media tried shooing Black Lives Matter and, the fact that they were radicalizing people underneath the rug because, we can't have the radical element of Black Lives Matter and the fact that they want to do some radical shit exposed. But immediately, they're jumping on the fact that this guy is a white supremacist. And look, this guy, from the manifesto is a white supremacist, and that's horrible. That is bad. But you can't focus on one form of extremism like white supremacy, right? And say that that's the worst form of terrorism, and then brush things like radical Islam and other racially motivated extremism under the carpet. So yeah, the manifesto is so perfect to take attention from the fact that there is somebody, some way these wind-up toys are being coaxed into doing these things. Yeah, so I might as well get into the manifesto here. I do have to download one thing, though, quick here. So let me go and do that. But, yeah, folks, this is not the show I was initially expecting that we would be doing tonight. I initially thought we would be talking about some of the election stuff, and I might be doing that later on in the I might do that later in the week. But there is no doubt to me that this shooter, that there is a certain part of this that does equal radicalization. That much is clear in my mind. So, and again, sorry for the pause here. I'm just trying to download a video here that I can play for you guys later on, and then we'll jump into the manifesto. So, yeah. El Jefe brings up a good point. Plus, if this kid is a white nationalist, why didn't he follow any of his quote-unquote brothers on Twitter? He followed the Mavs and the Stars. The closest thing he followed to the Nazi was Dirk fucking Nowitzki. Yeah, that's a good point, and I noticed that too, El Jefe, in some of the Discord screenshots that you guys were showing me earlier. It is weird for sure that these that a lot of these seemingly organic shooters are they write really really well-crafted manifestos that are perfectly typed and whatnot. But then when you go back into like their social media accounts and whatnot, they have no evidence of, following like any white nationalists like Richard Spencer or anything like that. So that certainly is interesting, for sure. Yeah, like I said, Robbie, don't care. I'm going to pull up the manifesto here. I actually have it pulled up here on my desktop, but I do want to download this clip real quick. Let me find her. Okay. Okay. Alright, we've got the video downloaded, so I'll cue that up in a bit. Okay. So that's what's so suspect about the early reports. We're saying that there were 2 other shooters, and all of a sudden that's just swept under the rug. That's from OJ's White Bronco. Yeah, I mean, again, dude, there certainly is some shady shit to all this, too. And then El Jefe brings up something that I was going to read in the manifesto. So, let me pull that up, ladies and gentlemen. I might as well. Let me minimize all my other windows first here. So, okay, so I want to state for the corporate heads at YouTube before I do this that I am reading this objectively as a citizen journalist. I do not endorse anything that is stated in this manifesto, nor do any of the audience members watching this live right now. And, any any inspiration taken from this manifesto, from me reading this, is I'm not responsible for. So I'm just giving that disclaimer. I'm just looking at this as an objective journalist. So sorry, folks. I just needed to state that for the YouTube, puppet masters. So let's go here. Okay, so this manifesto title is called "The Inconvenient Truth." This freak starts off with an About Me section. In general, I support the Christchurch shooter and his manifesto. The attack is a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas. They are the instigators, not me. I am simply defending my country from cultural and ethnic replacement brought on by an invasion. Some people will think this statement is hypocritical because of the nearly complete ethnic and cultural destruction brought to the Native Americans by our European ancestors, but this just reinforces my point. The natives didn't take the invasion of Europeans seriously, and now what's left is just a shadow of what was. My motives for this attack are not at all personal. Actually, the Hispanic community was not my target before I read The Great Replacement. This manifesto will cover the political and economic reasons behind my attack, my gear, my expectations of what response this will generate, and my personal motivations and thoughts. So, already, in that beginning seems a little too well crafted, in my opinion, for a guy who just graduated college and honestly doesn't look to be all that academically inclined. Who knows? We could have more info about him in coming days. But that beginning is already that beginning is suspect in and of itself. It's a little too crafted for. It's a little too well crafted for like an 18 or 19-year-old who would just write this in their spare time. Like, I was a good writer in high school, and even my papers weren't this well crafted. Next section, political reasons. In short, America is rotting from the inside out, and peaceful means to stop this seem to be nearly impossible. The inconvenient truth is our leaders, both Democrat and Republican, have been failing us for decades. So right then and there, this should be evidence to folks right here. The inconvenient truth that both our leaders, Democrat and Republicans, have been failing us for decades. This should show us that that this guy was not motivated by Trump. They are either complacent or involved in one of the biggest betrayals of the American public in our history. Can I highlight this? Oh, yes, I can. So for those of you, watching this, so this is the first segment I have highlighted. The inconvenient truth is that our leaders, both Democrat and Republicans, have been failing us for decades. They are either complacent or involved in one of the biggest betrayals of the American public in our history. The takeover of the United States government by unchecked corporations. So again, this guy is also trying to hijack, libertarianism. I could write a 10-page essay on all of the damage these corporations have caused, but here's what's important. Due to the death of the baby boomers, the increasingly anti-immigrant rhetoric of the right, and the ever-increasing Hispanic population, America will soon become a one-party state. So this is another thing too that needs to be pointed out, and believe me, I am reading the comments too, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm highlighting this as I go. So this should be another, this should be another thing that should symbolize that this kid is not a conservative. So yeah, and who says, Kyle in the chat says, failing us for decades, says the 19-year-old. Exactly. I mean, I'm 25, and I haven't even been saying this stuff. Okay. So, again, highlighting this, due to the death of baby boomers, the increasingly anti-immigrant rhetoric of the right, and the ever-increasing Hispanic population, America will soon become a one-party state. Highlighted, moving on. The Democrat Party will own America, and they know it. They have already begun the transition of pandering heavily to the Hispanic voting bloc in the first Democrat debate. Well, obviously this kid doesn't know his history, because if he did, he would know that the Democrats, or at least the new left, have been doing this for decades, pretty much since the late 70s, probably longer. They intend to use open borders, free healthcare for illegal citizenship, and more to enact a political coup by importing and then legalizing millions of new voters. With policies like these, the Hispanic support for Democrat will likely become unanimous in the future. The heavily Hispanic population in Texas will make us a Democrat stronghold. Also, this kid is really fucking ignorant, because most Hispanics who live in Texas, who are illegal immigrants, are Republicans. Like the Hispanic Americans who actually vote are conservative, and they're Republican. So him saying that is retarded. Losing Texas and a few other states with heavily Hispanic populations to the Democrats is all it would take for them to win nearly every presidential election. Although the Republican Party is also terrible, many factions within the Republican Party are pro-corporation. Pro-corporation equals pro-immigration. But some factors within the Republican Party don't prioritize corporations over our future. So the Democrats are nearly unanimous with their support of immigration, while the Republicans are divided over it. At least with Republicans, the process of mass immigration and citizenship can be greatly reduced. So he's basically like trying to blame the Alex Jones, and dare I would say the Tucker Carlsons of the world too, who criticize big multinational corporations, rightly so. Now, they don't to the extent that this whack job does, but Tucker Carlson's book certainly praises capitalism, but rightly so criticizes some of the aspects of big business. So, okay, so why does this Why does this keep skipping? Okay. Okay, so there's more about like there's more about civil unrest, what stuff about the welfare system. And so again, this kid is once again bashing the quote unquote right for he's simply bashing Trump for bringing in foreign workers. So oh, and so there's more about automation. So in a weird way, he's also, I guess, if we're using the logic of the left and blaming like Trump and Carlson and Alex Jones for all this, we can also blame Andrew Yang for this, because from what this kid is talking about here with automation, I mean, this whole point that I'm highlighting here, which I'll read in a sec, is some of Andrew Yang's rhetoric. Not all of it, but certainly some of it. Automation can and would replace millions of low-skilled jobs if immigrants were deported. The source of competition for skilled labor from immigrants and visa holders around the world has made a very difficult situation even worse for natives as they compete in the skilled job market. To compete, people have to get better credentials by spending more time in college. It used to be that a high school degree was worth something. Now a bachelor degree is what's recommended to be competitive on the job market. The cost of college degrees has exploded as their value has plummeted. This has led to a generation of indebted, overqualified students filling the menial, low-paying, and unqualifying jobs. Andrew Yang talking points right there. Of course, these migrants and their children have contributed to the problem, but they are not the sole cause of that. So, and my point in bringing up Andrew Yang is not saying that Andrew Yang motivated this kid, but if we're going to play games, if Trump haters are going to play games and say that this is Trump's fault or this is Alex Jones' fault, I can pick this apart and, say that this, that Andrew Yang is, inserting his talking points in here. Obviously that's not true. This individual is just crazy all on his own. So, and also, this kid wasn't even attending college to begin with. So, what does he know about college expenses and, skilled labor and all that stuff? This is not in the wheelhouse of a 19-year-old, usually. Unless you're a political commentator like I've been since, I was a teenager. But this kid does not seem very well read at all from the basis of it. More like someone is just picking up talking points and stitching them together. So, okay, so now this guy is going into his, what his gear is, what he's using for gear, and I'm gonna have to manually, it looks like, scroll through all this. Okay. So he even goes so far as to like highlight what his gear is here. AK-47. So he's plotting out what weapons he's going to use. Okay. Okay. Okay, personal reasons and thoughts, and this is the real part that I want to get to. Everything else is just kind of flub here. So, personal reasons and thoughts, and I'm moving the chat and audio windows around here so I can read better. You guys don't see that stuff on screen, but I do. My whole life I have been prepared, so I'm reading this section, personal thoughts and reasons. My whole life I've been preparing for a future that currently doesn't exist. The job of my dreams will likely be automated. Hispanics will take control of the local and state government of my beloved Texas, changing policy to better suit their needs. They will turn Texas into an instrument of a political coup which will hasten the destruction of our country. The environment is getting worse by the year. If you take nothing else from this government, from the document, remember this. Inaction is a choice. I can no longer bear the shame of inaction, and knowing our founding fathers have endowed me with the rights needed to save our country from the brink of destruction. Our European comrades don't have the gun rights needed to repel the millions of invaders that plague our country. They have no choice but to sit by and watch. Bye. Okay, so one thing I want to point out here, right, scrolling back up here, he says, the job of my whole life I've been preparing for a future that doesn't currently exist. The job of my dreams will likely be automated. Okay, so I did look through this manifesto. I scrolled through some of it and kind of skimmed it, but I have looked at this a few times before the show, and nowhere in here this guy says the job of my dreams will likely be automated. Okay, but he never said what that job is. Like, what was this kid's dream job? Right? He just says it will likely be automated, but he doesn't say what it is. So, I mean, a lot of this, again, is it seems to be kind of like copy and pasted from like all these just talking points. It doesn't seem it doesn't really seem organic. So okay, and I also love this. I cannot bring myself to kill my fellow Americans, even the Americans that seem hell-bent on destroying our country. Even if they are shameless race mixers, massive polluters, haters of our collective value, etc. One day they will see the error of their ways, either when American patriots fail to reform our country and it collapses, or when we save it. But they will see their ways. I promise y'all that. Okay, so he says he's not going to harm his fellow Americans, and yet that's exactly what he did. Then we talk about race mixing. Okay, so this is interesting. He says, my death is likely inevitable. If I'm not killed by the police, then I'll probably be gunned down by one of the invaders. Capture in this case is far worse than dying during the shooting because I'll get the death penalty anyway. Worse still is that I would live life knowing that my family despises me. This is why I'm not going to surrender, even if I run out of ammo. If I am captured, it will be because I was subdued somehow. Well, sucks for you then, asshole, because this creep got arrested. So So yeah, like I said, this does seem sketchy. And Gabe, did he really write something like about like hating Halle Berry? I'm looking and I'm not seeing it. So okay, he so he says that his ideology has not changed for years. Okay, so let's see. My ideology has not changed for several years. My opinions on automation, immigration, and the rest predate Trump and his campaign for president. I am putting this here because I know some people will blame the president or certain presidential candidates for the attack. This is not the case. I know that the media will probably call me a white nationalist anyway and blame Trump's rhetoric. The media is infamous for fake news. The reaction to this attack will most likely just confirm that. Most people think that the fight for America is already lost. They couldn't be more wrong. Blah blah blah. This is just the beginning of the fight for destruction from America. So, like I said, folks, obviously, this guy is a fucking nutbar. But as we're talking about a guy here who had no inclination to really go to college, right? It doesn't really seem like he was all that keen on actually like pursuing his dream job because it was automated or whatever. Right? It's just, yeah. Well, Robbie. Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. He didn't write it. That's my point. I mean, he may have had some scrawlings, but he certainly didn't write it. This is really, this is basically just like every stereotypical white supremacist, talking point and nutbar talking point. So, I don't. This does seem a little too well composed just to be simply organic. Plus, this kid is 19. Now, what I do want to play for you guys is, the left wants someone to blame for this kid going out and doing what he's doing. So let me just say this. This kid is a nutbar. It seems like someone was pulling his strings and all this. By the way, also, where did this kid get like an AK-47 and all these different guns at like age 19? This kid didn't really seem to have like skills in sharpshooting either. If he was, organic in this. But here's an interesting thing. So here's an interesting factor. I've been warning people, along with a few of my other colleagues, of a certain radical. I hate to call this person even right wing or conservative because they're not. But it's interesting that Owen Benjamin was actually talking about the danger of immigrants and migrants and all this stuff yesterday, almost making the exact talking points that this kid made at the beginning of his manifesto. And then this happens. Don't believe me? Clip number 1. No, Robbie, I'm not drunk. I wish I was kind of drunk because it's Saturday and I could use a beer, but I'm not. Just trying to scour my computer for files and whatnot. So So, this is interesting. If you... So this is an interesting comparison.
We're going to lose the Southwest of America. The cartels are already taking over. The cartels in a lot of parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Southern California are more powerful than the local governments. Anyone that knows anything about history knows that within 50 years, that's cartel land. That's not American government. That's not America anymore. It's already gone. You just don't know it yet.
Hispanics will take...
Okay, Hispanics will take control of the local and state government of my beloved Texas, changing policy to better suit their needs. The environment is getting worse by the year. I can no longer bear, BEAR, the shame of inaction, knowing that our founding fathers have endowed me with the rights to save our country from the brink of destruction. Our European comrades don't have the... Okay, I read that. It's interesting, though, that, Owen's been spouting the same rhetoric that, this kid was using. So, very interesting. Let me just play that one more time.
We're going to lose the Southwest of America. The cartels are already taking over. The cartels in a lot of parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and Southern California are more powerful than the local governments. Anyone that knows anything about history knows that within 50 years, that's cartel land. That's not American government. That's not America anymore. It's already gone. You just don't know it yet.
Now, I'm not saying, ladies and gentlemen, that Owen was directly responsible for this. But what I am saying is, it is pretty interesting to me that this was from one of Owen's streams yesterday. And then, a day later, this happens. Robbie says he's biting Black Pill's gig. Well, so here's the bottom line with all of this, though, and I've been saying this for months and months and months. The reason why YouTube won't get rid of Owen and won't get rid of David Duke off Twitter and will profile Richard Spencer every few years is because they need to keep those, they need to keep the actual white supremacists active, so to speak, in order to make actual, conservatives, myself and Rush Limbaugh and Gavin and, Gavin's kind of... But Alex Jones and, all these other people, the ones who have been deplatformed, basically, they're the villains. So, and, Johnny Arcade got his first channel taken down, for simply playing clips of Owen because they contain hate speech. Yet Owen himself is still active. Same with Apex Gamma. Johnny Arcade's second channel, Johnny was basically bullied into taking his channel down. Honestly, folks, if you can, I am. I am going to. I am going to be uploading this stream somewhere else too, in the hopes that this doesn't get taken down from YouTube, because I do worry that with me just showing the manifesto, YouTube could take it down, as they're want to do these days. But anyway, so what is the so what's my point in all this? My point in all this is that whether or not this is staged, whether or not the event itself was staged, the deep state is certainly preparing to set the stage to divide the country even further, and pit the left and the right against each other. And maybe shove some, anti-gun legislation in there. Maybe get rid of free speech. Maybe put some speech laws in there. So, yeah. So, yeah, anyway, yeah, you can't even say the word. So, anyway, folks, well, it's been a good show tonight. I appreciate you all for tuning in. It's been good considering the circumstances of what we've been talking about here. I really appreciate you all, and just again, say a prayer for all the victims of the shooting, and those who have survived, and for the families who have lost loved ones. So anyway, folks, that'll do it for tonight. I will be back tomorrow, actually, with another show. Hopefully this channel will still be up at that point. But anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and from all of us here at NGC Studios, have a good night, God bless, and God save this great nation.